Hello and welcome to the Thrive After 45 podcast, where we redefine the significance of you, for you, by you, because of you. I am Denise Drinkwalter, a midlife renewal coach here to help women embrace their power, purpose, and potential. This show is your space to explore what's possible when you prioritize you. Through inspiring conversations, expert insights, and real stories, we'll uncover how to navigate transitions, rediscover joy, and thrive inside and out. It's time to let go of guilt and fully embrace the life that's waiting for you. This is the Thrive After 45 podcast, and it is your time to thrive for you, by you, because of you. What an honor and a privilege to welcome and introduce Elizabeth Siegel to the Thrive After 45 podcast today. Lizzie's path to mastery wasn't shaped by textbooks or titles. It was carved through personal transformation, spiritual awakening, and a deep soul remembrance of who she truly is. She has lived the extremes of the human experience, from the depths of financial hardship, homelessness, trauma, and chronic health challenges to the heights of healing, global travel, and energetic mastery. With over 20 years as a guide, teacher, and energetic anchor, and 5 years offering soul aligned mentorship and holistic coaching, Lizzie has become a beacon for thousands. Her work bridges the physical and the mystical, the practical and the profound. She is a meta guide, a multi-dimensional mentor, grid guardian, portal priestess, frequency holder, and soul strategist. Her mission? To support others in mastering the energetics of manifestation, healing, embodiment, and conscious leadership. Lizzie doesn't just teach, she embodies. She is the only certified Psych K facilitator in Kuwait and served as Lululemon's yoga ambassador in the Middle East. She's led global retreats, studied with shamans and mystics, and worked with earth's chakras and sacred sites, all while transmitting frequencies that shift lives. Her clients come to her to dissolve limitations at that root level, whether it's healing autoimmune issues, unlocking abundance, navigating spiritual awakenings, or launching soul aligned businesses. When you work with Lizzie, everything becomes possible. Lizzie, I can't wait to have this conversation. We are so grateful to have you with us here today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for the beautiful introduction. Thank you for having me on the show. It's such an honor to be here with you, and I'm just beyond delighted.
I can't wait to dig in here because the depth of which you live your life, I know has not always been the way it's been. How on earth did you know when you were going to do such profound work in this world?
That's such a fun question. And I love to say, like, I was one of those lucky beings who remembered from a very young age. And I was tuned in and tapped in and turned on when I was young. And I was given some messages very early on, like 5, 6 years and younger, that this would be part of my journey. And then, as is common, I forgot.
Hmm.
And I forgot for many, many, many years. But then when I remembered, it was like, oh, yeah, I remember that. And so it was this aha moment of, yep, that makes perfect sense. And here we are. And now it's my treat to continue to
Mm.
remember because that's what we're all doing. We're remembering. It's, yes, we learn, yes, we grow. And really, we're uncovering and unlayering and returning or resourcing, returning to source within and remembering the wholeness of who we are.
Your eyes light up when you answered. I was like, yep, she's talking about who she is as a person, which is exactly what we are talking about in this show, doing what you need to do for you, by you, because of you. Is there anything in particular, is there in your mind's eye where you can go, I remember this time when I was 5, when I was 6, and this was something that you could share with the audience? Because I think what happens is when people hear other people's stories, things drop for them and all of a sudden they see things differently. So is there something you can share along those lines?
Absolutely. One of the key moments, and this really just cuts to the weird that I am. One of the key
I love
moments,
it.
and it's like it's just totally out there, and I know that some people who hear this, they'll be like, I'm not the only one. When I was young, I was very connected to what people would refer to as aliens or the galactic realm and angels as well. And there was an instance where I was visited by extraterrestrial beings, and I remember it all happening. I remember this taking place, and then I went and told my mother. And I know I scared her. And
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't just like, oh, that's weird. It was like, what is happening? And I learned from that experience, oh, we don't talk about this. Like this isn't okay. And so I learned how to like keep that part quiet. However, there were other instances where I would talk about things like angels. That was far more acceptable. And
Mm.
so if I would share a story about an angel or whatever, because I was raised in a Christian family, so angels are
Right.
commonplace, then I could share about that kind of thing. So I learned like that's a far more acceptable path to talk about and to go down that road. And it was these interactions where there was one particular interaction where I was going through a very deep grief. My Opa had passed away around this time, and or maybe a little later. Timelines are a little bit blurred.
Sure.
But I remember that I was just feeling so lost and so alone. And I was about 8 years old. And I called in, like I prayed to God. That was what I knew how to do. I prayed and I
Right.
called, asked for support. And it was like this presence filled the room with me and stayed with me. And that presence has been with me my entire life. And again, I forgot about it for a long period of time,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
I was tuned back into these dimensions and I awakened and I remembered the truth of who I am. Somebody was like, oh, and you have an angel that's by you all the time. And I was like, yes, yes, I do. You're right. And I know when they came because I
Right.
remember.
Sure. So, how did you go from what you were doing prior to going into the depths of what you do now? How did you know that this was the route for you? Because the work that you do is so um, giving back to showing others what's possible for them. How did that unravel for you? How did that roll out?
Well, when I was about 18, I actually, before I went to like university, I wanted to be a massage therapist.
Okay.
I wanted to be a healer because I knew that that was part of my path. Yet I let myself get talked out of it and do the traditional route that I should do. And I was like the golden child, which sounds really nice in theory, but is actually a lot of pressure and
Right.
a lot of self-abandonment and people pleasing so that I would go on a different journey for a while. And
Right.
I went to school, got degrees, and then it was like, well, what am I going to do? Because none of this is sitting with me. So I ended up
Right.
a teacher. And at the time I was like, I'm just going to be a teacher. And I say just with such
Up.
laughable lightness because you are never just a teacher. You are so much more than that. And that journey took me on really the journey that led me back to here. Because being a teacher, you tell kids they can be anything that they desire,
Mm,
anything that they believe in, and you help them cultivate skills and tools and practices to get there. And then there was this moment where I was like so deeply dissatisfied with my life, and everything, it was like everything was going wrong. When it rains, it pours.
right.
And I was ill, I was injured, I was unhappy, just all the things. And I was like, well, if it's true for them, why is it not true for me? And so I had a little mini
Hmm.
breakdown. Breakdowns lead
Yep.
to break. And I went on a solo journey um, during COVID times, actually, to Thailand. And my remembrance remembered me. And it, like in Harry Potter, the wand chooses the wizard. My life path was like, here you are, we're ready for you, thank you for coming. And I learned energy healing, and that was honestly the path back. It started with yoga, it started with like physical
Sure.
practice, breathwork, meditation, but it was
Yep.
that click into a different frequency with energy healing that was my journey to this side of the
Right.
veil.
Right. So what you're saying is very it resonates so much for me because we talk a lot about giving back to ourselves, but a lot of people are thinking the external, right? I'll go and do an activity and I'll find out who I am. And that's what I'm hearing, how you started doing the yoga, the meditation, the those pieces, but there was a deeper voice, a deeper remembrance, a deeper, there she is. And you were able to listen and hear that and action on it because you were going back to who you were, right?
Yeah, that piece that you mentioned, that action, it is so crucial because
Mm,
if, action is the language of the physical body in the physical material plane. And as a teacher, I have spent years accumulating knowledge and book learning, and I'm excellent at that too. But
sure.
if you apply what it is you're learning, the lessons don't get integrated and then they are lost. And when we take action, we are signaling to the holographic reality that is life, the mirror. Hey, I am worthy. I know that this is how it works. I get to choose the direction I move in. That is action, that is movement. And from there, I create the life that I desire. And, in our social media age, there's so much knowledge consumption. There's so much suck it in, but what are you doing with it?
Mm, yeah. The work that you do to help, like help with autoimmune disease, that's massive. Like
Uh,
healing major life altering. I'm speechless. I'm because I know people who have autoimmune and every day is a challenge. How in the world does that even happen where the work that you do affects healing at that level?
so physical ailments, dis-ease
Yeah,
is disease, is the dis-ease in your body. And in yoga and Ayurveda, we know that, and Western science doesn't focus on this as much as Eastern science, but we know that dis-ease or disease is a physical manifestation in the body, and it's the last stage of the disease. It's not the first. It's a symptom of the last stage when you have ignored all the other
mm,
subtler symptoms along the way and all the other layers of the self. We don't just have a physical body. We have a physical body, an emotional body, a mental body, an intellectual body, and a spiritual body. And when we can honor all the layers of the self and be so okay with being radically honest with the self that we get to the root of the issue, we can dissolve literally anything. The thing is that if we've been so conditioned and trained to believe that this physical body and the symptoms or the experiences that happen to it, in it, of it, are out of our control,
Mm-hmm.
then that's what we believe. And we don't have agency over our own physical manifestation. When I read through yoga and Ayurveda that disease was a manifestation, I was like, well, then if I manifested it in, surely I can manifest it out.
Mm.
And I knew in that moment, okay, I'm going to heal. And I had wicked, awful autoimmune diseases. I had fibromyalgia. I had something that they thought
Ugh.
was lupus, but it turned out to be an undifferentiated connective tissue disease. It was something they were like, we don't even really know what to call it. And it's not, they were just kind of boggled because it came out of nowhere,
Mm.
but really it came out of living a life that was deeply misaligned and ignoring it for so long. When I chose to sit with the discomfort, and sometimes stillness is needed,
Mm-hmm.
and to go, what's happening here? And what are the pieces of my life that are making me so miserable? And being okay with whatever answer came up. And I was not okay with it at first at all. You know, the human, and we would rather be right
Yeah.
than we would rather be healed and whole. Because that ego, the negative ego, it's doing its job. It's to protect us, it's to keep us alive. But once we can understand that if the ego gets exposed, if it gets illuminated, as I say, it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't die. It just becomes another option in all the possible options. So when we can sit with the possibility of you could be wrong about this
Right.
and you could actually heal from it, then we can open up to a whole new realm of possibility and healing. And there's many layers to this because even so, people often will hold on to diseases and ailments, and even like injuries much longer than they actually need to because there's a benefit in them keeping it. And
Mm.
that there's another layer of honesty too, because you can ask like, well, what do you gain by having this disease? Well, people take care of me. I don't have to work. I don't have to do everything for myself. I get special treatment and I get to protect myself. And it seems like a really backwards, roundabout way of doing all of this, but the subconscious mind is, it's deeply symbolic.
Mm.
And the conscious mind is really doing its job to protect us. And the soul already knows that this is part of the journey. So it's okay with going on it. And it's not pitying you. It's not,
Right.
you're having an experience that you chose to have so that you could either repeat or evolve.
Love it. You're talking, and I'm something that just flew into my mind was a book I'm currently reading by Carolyn Elliott, PhD, and it's called Existential Kink. And she talks about, have you heard of the book?
I've heard of it, but I've not read
Oh,
it.
I recommend you read it because it's exactly what you were talking about. There's a benefit in whatever it is, the ailment, the concern, the issue. You stay there because you're getting something out of it, even though you feel, I hate this, I don't want, right? There's something in that. So how do you switch that, flip that switch so that it changes and you see it for what it really is and not be afraid of it? Right? Yeah.
We are so taught to fear the unknown.
Yeah.
And it's so, it's interesting because
Hmm.
all we're ever going to find in the unknown is more of ourselves. But when we have these stories that we tell or and that we continue to perpetuate, it becomes scary. And fear and doubt, they're actually not signals to stop. They're signals to keep going because I love this analogy that I use because I think I've worked with little children for so much of my life, and
Sure.
they show us everything we need to learn. When a little kid realizes that it's not going to get what it wants, like think about if you're at a grocery store and you watch a child want the candy bar, and they'll go around the grocery store whining after their mother, begging, pleading, please give me this, please let me have it. When they get to the checkout and they realize they're maybe not going to get that chocolate bar, you watch them throw a temper tantrum. And fear and doubt are just like that. They get the loudest right before they're about to be exposed, right before they're about to be revealed. And they're going to get a no, because the job of the defense mechanism of a negative belief is to perpetuate itself and to do whatever it can to stay alive. But again, like I said, if you're willing to say, okay, when I expose you, all you're going to realize is you still get to exist and you become a possible option. And I can always go back and choose that option. It's there, it's available. But I could also choose an option in the direction that I actually say I prefer. Yet so many people are, especially people with health issues, injuries, ailments, and I speak to this with so much compassion because this
Of
was me.
course. Of
They're
course.
in the victim mindset,
Mhm.
and they feel so disempowered that they do not have a choice. And I know that that might be triggering also, but that's what I'm here to do. Activate people to help them remember you have a choice no matter what. And even not making a choice is a choice in and of itself.
Right. We make choices every day, whether we believe it or not. The reality is, every single day, we do make multiple choices. And some of them are just because of this is how we do life. But I like what you said earlier about the five components. There's not just the physical piece, there's all the other pieces that we are not using to bring ourselves to the fullness of who we truly are. And that's the work that you love to do and are so gifted at it. Um, I know that you shared this morning, and thank you for sharing all that stuff this morning. I'm like, look at her. She's going crazy about our conversation coming up. But
So excited.
I,
I'm so excited.
right? So we had an opportunity to connect long before this, where you took me on, I'm going to call it on a journey. And it was a journey that I've never had before. And I've done different things in my lifetime. I've done, you know, um, drumming and different experiences like that. Um, and it was absolutely life changing. And the part that I think is so amazing, and to this day, I still am like, God, how does this even work? But I didn't do anything. I just was in space with you virtually like this, and you went through a variety of things. I can't even say what they all are, but you did your magic on your end, and I just got to sit and think. Like asked me certain questions and I would just take it and you would clear things. And I've had this experience with another person who did something similar but a different modality. And the same thing. It's just like I feel different, but I don't know how that's even possible because I haven't moved. I'm in the same chair. I'm not, I haven't, I haven't stretched anything. Can you speak a little bit to Psych K? Because that's the exercise, the exercise. I don't even know what you want to call it, the experience that we did together so that people in the audience can hear the power of that opportunity that exists.
Thank you for asking. Yes, of course I can. And also, I just want to take a moment to say thank you to you and honor you in your experience, because the way I see things, we are all one. And whenever you say yes to you, not only do you say yes to you, you say yes to the collective. You say yes
Mm,
to everything and everybody. And that transformation that takes place in you isn't just for you, it's for every single person, and that seen and unseen, every living, breathing, not even living and breathing, all of consciousness, and it expands collectively. And that is so important. And so thank you for being you and for being part of that experience.
My pleasure.
So Psyche is one of my favorite tools that I use in my practices. Psyche is a spiritual process with psychological, physical, mental, emotional benefits.
Right.
And what we do in Psyche, you call them exercises, we call them balance. So in Psyche, it is a process whereby we honor the whole human, the whole self. And we work with the superconscious mind, which not in Psyche, but in other places, people might call your highest self or your soul self or many,
Right.
many other. We work with the subconscious mind and we work with the conscious, what comes out in the conscious.
Right. Right.
So this process is beautiful because I like to use the analogy of a computer. And this is why I like to use it because I don't really understand computers.
Yeah.
Need to, because what I do understand is that there is only so much in the universe that you will ever understand. And it's like a little dot. That's how much you're going to ever understand. There is infinite amounts of everything, and we can't possibly understand it all. We get to experience and know this like little dot of it.
Hmm.
So that's like the superconscious realm, let's say.
Right.
And then the subconscious mind, you can think of it like the computer operating system. It's running scripts, it's doing so much background work. It processes information at about 50 to 100,000 bits of information per second. It's super fast, high level computing. Do
Hmm.
I know how that works? No. However, I do know how to open tabs on my computer. I do know how to log into different functions and things like that. That's like the conscious mind.
Right.
And so when we can understand that we can communicate with the subconscious mind, and this is the part about like Psyche that I do know, like I know how to do that. I've been trained in that. I know how to access that part. It would be like I'm a computer programmer and I know how to work that part.
Right.
I help people through these balances tune into the subconscious beliefs, and we see what are beliefs that are limiting or beliefs that are enhancing. We can also work with trauma, stress, and any other like heavy, dense kind of experience to transmute that and reach a state of peace and non-attachment. And so Psyche works because we reperceive the experience and the beliefs. And instead of just trying to put stuff on top and pretend like that's not there, we actually, with intention, go into
Mm.
the limiting beliefs, the subconscious trauma, the body trauma, even, and we're able to let all of that come up to the surface to be witnessed, to be integrated, and then clear it and program in what you would rather, what you would like instead. And so it's this process of understanding. We don't just put some more stuff on top. It's like having a full cup of rocks. You can't just
Right.
put rocks on top. They don't fit. You have to dump it out and then fill it up. So the same thing is true with Psyche. We bring it all up, we clear what needs to be cleared, and then we program in new beliefs. Again, like an operating system of a computer. You have to, again, here's the part that I don't know. I kind of wipe it, but I don't do that part. The update does that part on its own. Same as in Psyche. I don't actually have to go in there and clean things up for you.
Right.
That's what your superconscious does. That's what that part of asking for permission allows us to do, because we don't need to do that part. That's taken care of by source, God, the universe, your superconscious, whatever you believe in.
Right.
It's there.
Love it. Love it. And when we did our work together, you had mentioned to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that you do psyche work on yourself. You balance yourself all the time. So, knowing that, is there anything you could share that you could say is the most magical thing that's ever happened when you fully chose you?
Gosh. Yeah, great question. I have thousands of miraculous stories. Like miracles are regular for me. But the biggest one I will say is something that I had wanted to do for so long. Uh, I have been a teacher for like 17 plus years, and I had wanted to leave the teaching career and the job for about 6 years, and I couldn't do it. No matter what I did, what I tried, everything, I would just keep looping and getting stuck in the, but it's safe, I'm comfortable, I have a good pension, a blah, like all these things that logically make sense. And in
Right.
the 3D world, they make sense, and family reinforcing this belief and everything. Yet my soul was screaming at me.
Mm.
It was just saying, you've got to make a switch. So when I did a very transformative alternative life balance in Psyche, it's an advanced balance that we do. I made it two of my action steps that I must, ooh, balloons, love that.
I love that too. Yeah. If you're listening to the podcast, Lizzie just put her fingers up and all these balloons came to celebrate what she's going to be talking about.
So funny. Uh, I did this action step for two of the things I must complete. And it was to sign no on my contract. And I had wanted to for years. And so that time came where it was like, okay, your contract's here. You need to sign no. And of course, I could have not. That was an option. But I really wanted my life to change. And I knew that I had to take that really bold, scary action for
Hmm.
me. And once I did, like I remember I was sitting on my couch, I signed no, and then I went, huh, how funny of me that I made it to sign no on my contract and I did it. And I went, I breathed a sigh of relief. I felt very accomplished, but then I was like, that wasn't so scary. That wasn't such a big deal. And then I laughed and I was like, well, I guess the next part is I should hand it in, right? that was that was the next logical step. So of course I handed in the no. And then my life changed wildly. Like more things just started falling into place. Aligned clients started flowing in. People reached out to me and like featured me in magazines. I started writing for other magazines. I had so many opportunities, and a lot of other stuff happened where like stuff started leaving my life. And I was like, oh,
Okay.
this alignment. This is part of, this doesn't align with your new frequency. And so it must be cleared out in order for your new reality to take shape. And so I would be lying to say it's all rainbows and butterflies all the time, because that's not true. The whole part about holding all this light and love is that you go through the shadows, the depths, and the darkness in order to be able to hold all the light. We live in a dualistic world, and being able to hold all the light means also being able to see all the dark. When you turn on the light switch in a room, now you see all the dirty stuff too.
Right.
So part of knowing that this experience, while it gets to be joyful and it can be easy, we don't have to make it be hard work. I say it's the heart work.
Mm.
And this can be a little jarring at times, but with the right support and with the right belief systems in place, which is why I use Psyche so much, is to work on the beliefs.
Right.
Because whatever you believe is what manifests in your physical reality. We do not manifest from the conscious mind alone. We manifest from the subconscious and the soul level as well. And so when we align our beliefs, which are in our subconscious, then we can allow our soul to shine through. And this is why it becomes easy and effortless and beautiful.
Hmm. Hmm. And I love what you're saying in terms of the duality, because the important piece that resonates for me in this conversation that I want to share is that if you stay doing, if you're resonating with what Lizzie's saying and you're like, but it's, I look at the outside and everybody's right. I've got the pension, I've got this, I've got all these, but I'm not happy. How long do I stay not happy for? And how long does it take before that ease starts to enter in, and things I thought were, I can do it. I'll just suck it up, buttercup. It's a job, you're blah blah blah. Instead of going to the duality and actually putting your toe in the water, knowing people like Lizzie exist to help you through that journey and help you with your belief system and help you move more towards your aligned soul truth. And in so doing, yes, thank you for sharing, Lizzie, that there are hard times. It doesn't mean it's unicorns and butterflies, but the results are you're living a life of your choosing and you're making the choices that you truly desire. And we never know what's going to roll out. As a result, we have ideas, but those ideas are human and it doesn't take into the other pieces that new opportunities can present themselves. Like you said, all this stuff started falling into my lap. It's like, what? It couldn't before. There wasn't space for it, right?
You said something that I just want to mention that really is important on this journey of saying yes to yourself. A couple things. One is that you get to choose your hard. I speak from my personal experience. I once was more than 100 pounds overweight, and that was hard. That was a hard life in so
Mm,
many different regards. And I remember how hard it was to live, how hard it felt to be in my own,
mm,
how discomfort, like I felt in so much discomfort all the time. And I lost all that weight. And people said, well, wasn't that hard? And I said, yes, I guess it was hard, but I was choosing my hard. It was harder to stay stuck in a body, in life, in a mindset, in this misery than it was to decide to make a choice and a change step by step
mm.
in the direction that I wanted to be in. And people always try to eat the whole elephant at the one time. Elephant, one bite at a time. If you're going up the mountain and that looks daunting, it does. Just look at your feet, take one step at a time, and then it doesn't seem so challenging. And again, support, encouragement,
Yeah.
those the right people surrounding you along the way is really key. And then you also said about my mind went away for a moment. Eh, if it wants to come back, it will.
We're very similar. I have a couple of ideas. Don't forget them. Oh,
The
what I.
same vein, but it doesn't want to hang out with me right now.
That's okay. Is there anything that you would love to share with our audience that will give them something to go back and uncover, discover, think about, contemplate for you, by you, because of you, by giving back to yourself in ways that you've never actually considered before? Is there any golden nugget that you would love to close our conversation with this morning?
Yeah. And it kind of goes with what I was thinking before that I wanted to share. So perfect. We often believe that we have to earn our worth.
Mm,
And this is one of the biggest blocks to the life that we desire. And again, like that idea of choosing your heart. You do not have to earn your worth. You are inherently worthy because you exist. If you weren't worthy, you simply would not exist.
mhm.
But because you exist, and because of all this conditioning that tells us we have to prove our worth or prove this, prove that, we get lost in this idea of what it means to live a joyful life or a fulfilled life or a loving life. And true unconditional love, which is what source, God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, consciousness, pure awareness is unconditional love. And people get that definition really confused sometimes, but it really means without condition. So if you
Right.
want to live a life of struggle, if you want to live a hard life, you can choose that, and the universe will literally unconditionally support that and go, okay, here you go. If you want to live a life of ease, joy, fulfillment, the whatever it is that you desire, the universe will go, okay, here you go. And notice how my inflection didn't change, because it's not like, okay, you want to live a joyful, easy life, here you go. And okay, you want to live a hard, difficult, go ahead. No, it's neutral. It is unconditional love and grace. And when you can start applying that to yourself,
Mm.
like you would a small baby infant or a really old person, we have a lot of unconditional grace and compassion and love for them. Apply that to yourself and know that your worth can never be taken away. We build empires of burnout and self-sacrifice and separation. But when you begin to like dissolve all of that and truly remember that it's your being, that's the value, you recalibrate your whole entire reality. You get to receive just as much as you give. You get to create effortlessly. And instead of proving, you are simply here in presence.
Yeah.
And that's so, so beautiful, because you recognize then that abundance is your birthright. And it's not just abundance financially, it is abundance in all the ways. And you anchor into that. And you know that it's a frequency. It's not something to get.
Mm.
It's not something to prove. It's something to align with as a frequency, as an energy. And one thing I just want to like leave people with, because it's so clear in this example. When you are ill, when you don't have good health, like maybe
Mhm.
you have really, really bad health, or maybe you just have a cold and you wish to get better, you know that by wishing and wanting and doing whatever you can to get better, you don't take away the health of somebody else.
Mhm.
Because health is abundant. Well-being is abundant and it's available to everybody. You would never go, oh, if I get better, then that means that person gets sicker. No, it doesn't work that way. The same is true with every form of abundance: money, relationships, mental health, physical health, emotional health, social status. There is an abundance of everything. And it's a matter of reprogramming yourself to realize you're not taking anything away from anybody else. That scarcity is actually a lie. Abundance is the only truth. And even when you have lack, you don't lack abundance, you have an abundance of lack.
Ooh.
And so you can simply choose, again, it's a choice, it's a conscious choice to switch and go, okay, well, then if I believed that I lacked abundance, I'm going to believe that I have abundance, that I am
Right.
abundant, that frequency. And everything begins to become simpler because it really is
Mm.
simple. We just have to get out of our own way.
Yeah, you're not fighting. You're not fighting yourself, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Seeing what is possible, knowing that your belief system is the driver of your bus. So if you want to get on a different bus, all you do is get out and move over, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's there for the taking. It's daily choices. It's daily thoughts. It's daily acceptance. And I love what you're talking about because everybody is born worthy. We don't have to go find it. I know a lot of people talk about, well, when I retire, I will have this. I can't have it now. The part that makes my heart ache forever is we don't know when our last breath is. And how many times have we heard in our world people didn't make it to retirement when they were going to start living? Every day is a choice to live. So, yeah.
And that is so important. If you would ask yourself this question, and it's one that really woke me up. I asked myself the question, if I had, because there was a point in my life where I didn't want to live anymore.
Mm.
And it was like, okay, well, let's just say this is your last chance at life, because it was that dire. It felt that awful.
Mm.
You rather take a chance and just go full out and do the things that you say you've always wanted to do, or just give up and die now. And so if you had a year left to live, would you still be doing what it is you're doing? Or would you really live your life to the fullest because you never know when it is your last year. You never know when it is your last day. And so to live your life for one day is now. All we have is here and now. It's the present moment. And
Yeah.
this, I asked that question to one of my colleagues who was in a state like I was. And
Mm,
she is such a beautiful example because even though it meant she would lose some of her pension and all these other things, money,
mhm.
like a bunch of stuff that normal people would go, I need that. I asked her this question and she went, that changed my life. And she decided then, like within a week, she was like, I'm done. I can't do this job anymore. I need to take care of myself and I need to
Mm,
me. And that can be a process
yeah.
that is hard for some. But again, you never know what you don't know until you try. And people on their deathbed, what do they regret? Not loving more, not having more time with family, not going and experiencing the world or whatever that might mean to them.
Right.
It's not, oh, I wish I worked more. I wish I stayed in my job more and had more money. I wish I
Hmm.
did clean my house more. It's never those things.
Yeah.
So allowing yourself to live from your soul's essence, everybody knows what that sounds like. We just pretend like we don't until we are faced with the reality of, okay, keep pretending, or there's something that's going to really jar you. And that's those rock bottom moments, but it doesn't have to get there. You don't have to
Which,
get.
which is exactly why I have this show so people don't have to hit those rock bottom moments to get themselves out. Yes, it many times works for individuals, not always, we know, but let's not make that a prior. Let's not let that happen. That's why I have incredible guests like yourself, and it's a blessing to be able to share this space with you. We have in the show notes all of the ways that you can contact and find Lizzie. She's everywhere. We are all connected. We believe that. We know that. And reach out because I can tell you, I've had the experience and it was second to none. It was amazing. And I am so grateful for our time together today. Thank you for chiming in from Kuwait. Oh my gosh, I love this.
I'm so deeply um, appreciative and moved by what you do. Thank you for doing what you do. Thank you for being the shining beacon that you are. Your energy is contagious, and you are giving people that opportunity to live their best lives now.
Yeah.
So thank you for who you be, what you bring to this world, and for having me to share my journey with you.
Thank you so much, Lizzie, for being here. Again, in the show notes, double check, see how you can find Lizzie, connect with her, let her magic hit your world, and your life will never be the same. My name is Denise Drinkwalter, and I am a midlife renewal coach and helping people thrive after 45. Have a great day, everyone, and we will see you again. Bye.